Hello, everybody. It is Sunday, the 24th of May. I want to talk about the eternal God, the source, the unchanging source, the unchanging eternal source. And I want to talk about certainty, because I think that is what many are looking for, is something they can be certain of in an ever-changing world. Now, I've been trying to find a picture in my head, how this whole creation thing actually works, what creates the outcomes. Because in understanding what creates the outcomes, we can take some measure of control of what the outcome might be. If we go around in ignorance, doing this thing, that thing, without knowing what it is we're doing, then we have no measure of control over the outcome. So, as I said, I was looking for a picture of how this whole thing works, what the ancient texts and what the ancient beliefs actually said, how this works. And the picture I came up with yesterday was the picture of a film and a film projector. So if you have the film projector as the source of light, there's a light bulb in it, and then the light shines through a picture, and then it projects that picture onto a screen. So if you think of the light of the projector as the unchanging God, the unchanging all, the light never changes. You think of the picture on the screen as solid reality, which is the outcome. What is creating the picture on the screen is the film in the middle, and that is you. So where the unchanging eternal light, you're made of that light, but it also shines through you. It works, it creates through you. So the eternal light shines through you, and it projects whatever you are is what is going to be on the screen. And here is where creation actually, or to create outcomes, to create a solid reality, which is the picture on the screen, that is created in the film bit, not by the light of the source, because it never changes. It is eternal, it never changes. It is how the picture in the film itself changes that will create the outcome. And as I said, the picture in the film is not the solid bit. The solid bit is the outcome. It's what is on the film screen. So that is your spiritual being through which the light shines and then projects onto the screen. Well, that's the picture I have in my head now, and it actually explains an awful lot of things if you look at it like that. So for people that blame God or trust God, either way, for the outcome, it is not the source. The source is unchanging, eternal. And it most certainly is not the picture on the screen. For those that blame the solid flesh, the solid outcome as the cause. Well, that is the one thing that is really totally, utterly uninvolved. It is just being created. There's no fault there. The fault, again, is in the picture in the middle. That creates the outcome. And that picture is not solid. That is your spiritual being through which the light shines and then projects. And there's actually the first point of certainty, maybe even the only point of certainty. And that is that will happen. That is the eternal process that will forever happen. And the other certainty is that the light of the projector itself, the light of the source, will never change. It will not go away. It will not change itself. There is God eternal and unchanging, the light of the source. There's another certainty. It will not change. Uncertainty is created through the changing picture, through which the light goes. So if we understand that from the start, then we must look at the picture that we are in the film and what it is we are projecting as solid reality. So the picture itself through which the light shines is spirit. The outcome is solid. What is creating your picture? What is it? What are you spiritually? Well, you're made up of energies, which is your energy being, which is created by thoughts. It is created by emotions. It is created by thoughts that are based on solid reality of what you are experiencing right now. Thoughts that you may have about a future that has not yet happened, what that might be. Your hopes, your desires, your fears, your likes, your dislikes, all of that is you. So for people to go around and say, we've forgotten who we are, no, you haven't. That is you. You just need to look at yourself to see yourself. Because you can't see yourself on that level. You can observe yourself. You can observe your thoughts. You can observe your emotions. You can observe your desires, your hopes, your dreams. You can analyze those things. So yes, you can absolutely know yourself. You may have forgotten what you were before in a previous lifetime, let's say it like that. You may have forgotten the experience you had in a previous lifetime, but you have not forgotten who you are. Because you are what you are. Right now, right here, right now. You cannot forget that. The only thing you can do is not look at it. Choose not to look at it. Blame everything else on something else outside of yourself. You can choose to do that. And then maybe you don't know yourself. But you can. You absolutely can know yourself. So in here really for me comes the idea of the being God, the biblical God, the gods in religion, the influencers. And why a belief on those gods is so extremely dangerous. Because as I said, God will create you, what you are, your being, your spiritual being, by the planting of seeds, by the planting of ideas, saying, this is how it is, and you make that your reality. You become that. And the light, again, the unchanging light of the projector will shine through what you have become, and it will create the outcome on the screen, the solid outcome. So that is what they are. They are the sowers of seeds. They are influencers that influence what you are. But if you believe them to be the actual light source behind, the projector source, you're completely wrong. They are not that. They might proclaim to be that. We are the source of the light. They're not. They're just the changers, the creators of you, the creator of your picture. And then do you allow them to, are you allowing yourself to be the man of clay that can be formed in any which shape to create the outcome on the screen? That is to say, you are not in control of what it is you are, but you allow something else to create you, influence you, make you believe that is what you need to be. And here comes, again, the certainty that the light will shine through you and project, create a reality. That certainty is always there. But and here's the thing, there's absolutely nothing you have to do for that to happen. That's the thing. There's nothing you have to do for that to happen. It will happen. It happens continuously. But it is said by the creator gods of the Bible and of other spiritual texts, other religions, that you have to be a certain thing for the light of God to shine through you and create in this world, which is actually truth. Not because they are the light, but if they change you, if their teaching changes you, if the will of the being God, if you allow the will of the being God to create you into a certain thing, then yes, once the light shines through you, his will be reflected on the screen in solid reality. And then you have become a servant in your entire being that serves the outcome that God or whatever influences, but whatever they want to create, you've become a part of that. So to say the will of the biblical God, yeah, there's something you have to do. You have to change yourself to become a servant to the will of a biblical God. Yes, you absolutely do have to change. And and it will create an outcome. It will create your world. It will create your experience. But the one thing is that the source itself is completely uninvolved in that entire process. It just shines eternally through its creation. There is no will in the light, in the source. There's no intention. There's no desire. All of those things are part of the created. The light just shines eternally, unchanging. There is the unchanging God and the certainty that that will happen. The gods of the Bible, the being gods, are the influencers that influence what it is you are if you allow them to do it. And then, people go around saying what's happening in this world is the fault of some of the biblical God. They blame God. It says in the book of the Revelation, people will blame God, but they will remain in their sin. Yeah, they blame God for what is happening, but they are not changing. So if they are not changing themselves, no good blaming God. You are the one that has to do it. You have to change what you are to create a different picture. So they blame that God, or they blame beings in the astral zone, interdimensional beings, whatever. Yeah? Always, again, pointing outside of themselves as the source of their own bad experiences. All they could do was influence you, plant seeds in your head. You're the one running with it. They cannot actually physically, well, spiritually change you. You're the one that has to create the change. You are the ones that has to do the works to change yourself. They can't do that for you. But as I said, there you become a co-creator in their will by changing yourself. Denying your own truth, if you have a truth, if you have your own desires, your own knowledge of good and bad, your own whatever, your own knowing that you could go by, if you deny that, all of it, and become according to their thinking and do according to their will, that is the way of the cross. And then whatever is projected through you will be the outcome of that. The solid reality that you experience will be the outcome of that. But it was always your choice whether you do that or not. Now, the last thing, and it is manifestation, which is actually continuously happening. As I said, there's absolutely nothing you have to do. All you do is I am, you're in being. That is all you have to do. The rest will happen. The source behind you is eternal, and it will shine through you. And the reflection will happen. The solid outcome will happen. So that is certain. But how do you change yourself? How do you change the reflection? And how really do you get what you want? Really. Not what God wants, not what anybody else wants, but what is it you want to create? And that's the way of the desire. The way of desire, which is a part of you. The part of your energies is created by desire. And that is the way of Neville Goddard. And that is, again, know that you have received it. It will happen. It will happen if you become the desire. Something that's been said in the lectures is you have to know the outcome with every fiber of your being. You have to be the outcome. And then, yes, the outcome will happen because the light shines, and in it there is no judgment, and it shines eternally, and whatever you are will be reflected in the outside world. Because that is a certainty, because that process is the certainty. So that explains the whole idea of desire and manifestation. But again, you have to become that. And there's the other thing about stillness. Because if the light goes through a moving picture, a picture that is constantly changing, the outcome cannot be clear-cut and solid. So you have to be still for the light to shine through to create a clear-cut outcome in what we call solid reality. But I think, as I said, in religion, the worst thing you can do is to say that there is a will or a desire or a source, anything in the eternal source, because it doesn't exist there. That is part of creation. It only exists in creation. The source is to be beyond all of those things, which is why it can remain unchanging. But then if you appoint something like that, there's a will, there's a desire, there's something I have to do for the will of God to be reflected through me. That is not the source. That is another being that is using you as the man of clay, form you, so you project something that will serve them. And you must get out of that. You must know your biblical gods from the source, because they are not the source themselves. See what they're doing. See what they're asking of you, and then really use your brains. Use your own knowing, your knowledge of good and bad. You do not have to change. You do not have to be their servant. You do not have to create a world for them. Know what it is you're doing. And that's what where I keep saying, stand in your own truth. If the light shines through something, it should shine through your own truth, not somebody else's. Let your own truth create the outcome in this world. Is the outcome, well, that something will happen is certain. Again, there is the certainty of creation itself. Something will be created, that's certain. Whether it is good or bad depends on you. Again, you are the only thing that can change in the entire process. The light of projector will not change. The projection on the screen is the outcome. It cannot change. You're the only thing that can in the whole process. There's no certainty of a good outcome. There isn't. But the more you think about your desires, the more you think about your actions, the more you examine your own thoughts and what they will create. Your thoughts are part of the thing that creates. And the more you do that, the more you can ensure that you create a good outcome. So whatever your thoughts, whatever your desires, that the light will shine through and manifest. Have an impact study before you go into the stillness. Have an environmental impact study. And by that, I mean the environment of your family, your friends, whatever is affected by what you are bringing into being. Yeah? And only that is, again, in other works that you have to do, because you are, in the end, you are the one that's responsible for what is coming into this world. Even if you're doing the will of another god or something like that, in the end, the buck stops with you. You are the one responsible. And then, yes, act responsibly. Do an impact study. And if there's something you shouldn't be doing, you shouldn't desire, you shouldn't think, then don't do it. Change yourself, change your mind, change your desire, change the picture that will be there in the outcome. Anyway, This is as far as I got at the moment, and to me, this explains the that picture would explain the unchanging God, the source, the unchanging light, the eternal unchanging light, which is the projector, and it explains the creator gods of the Bible, which are obviously not unchanging. They change all the time, and they give their commandments of what we should, not so much what we should be doing, but what we should be, so that the reflection, the world that is created, serves them. As I said, be fully aware that you are the only part in this whole process that can change. And if you want free will and self-determination, then do not be influenced. You can listen to others. They can bring ideas to you that you may not have thought of yourself, but whether you incorporate those ideas into your being, that is entirely up to you. And only if you do that have you true self-determination. And you have some measure of certainty about the outcome. The more you think about it, the more certain you can get. There might always be something that comes at you sideways that you had not thought about. But that will be in the reflection. You know, something you weren't aware of, but it will be in the reflection, in the solid reality. Well, then look at that solid reality and change what needs to be changed in the picture. No point changing it in the solid reality, because that is not, it has not created itself. You need to change it on a higher level, on the level of the picture. And you can't change it at the source, because the source is forever doing what it is doing, and it will remain unchanging. So the change has to occur in your spirit, in your spiritual being. Then know what it is you're doing. Anyway, this is as far as I got, and I leave it at that for today. I think this is a hope. For me, it is a very helpful way of thinking about these things. So I know what it is I'm doing, what it is I have to look at, what is required of me to change the mess that I'm in. Anyway, I leave it at that for today, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.